September 5, 2017, President Trump terminated the DACA program, disrupting the lives of nearly 800,000 hardworking DACA recipients. On that same day, the administration decided to no longer allow DACA recipients to travel abroad under the authority of Advance Parole. In the past, DACA recipients have been allowed to take short trips out of the country for humanitarian, educational, or employment purposes. This is no longer the case, and the consequences have been devastating. In January of this year, the father of my constituent, Mayra, a college student and dreamer, died in Mexico. She immediately gathered the necessary paperwork, including her father's death certificate, and applied for advance parole. Her request was denied, and then denied again. Mayra was unable to pay her last respects to her beloved father due to the unconscionable decisions made by this irresponsible and heartless administration.
My name is Mayra Garibo. I was born in Mazatlan, Sinaloa. I came to the U.S. when I was 7 years old. My mom decided to bring us here because we were struggling, to make ends meet where we were. So she just wanted a better life for us and to have a better education. Losing my dad was one of the hardest things that I've ever experienced in my life. I received a call, and it was my aunt. And she said, "Is your mom, have you spoken to your mom?" She started crying, and she just told me, "Your dad passed away." And I didn't know how to react. Like, what do I do? I haven't seen my dad for 17 years. I had not seen my dad. And I was like, what do I think? How do I feel? I didn't know how to feel. All I know is that my mind just kept saying, keep going, keep going, keep going. Try to see him, just keep going. I didn't really know how to handle that. I'm learning every day, but it's not an easy thing. Like, it's really something really difficult to deal with. And in those moments, I just said, I have to go see him. I have to go see him. And I believe I spoke to someone that said, oh, look, given the situation that's going on with DACA, and I feel like they're going to bring Advance Parole back. So that was already a hope for me.
What I think is important is to understand what is the concept of advance parole. Advance parole simply allows for an individual to return home for humanitarian reasons when someone that is a loved one that is very ill or dying, or for, in our case, what I discovered that it could also be applied for educational purposes. So that's the concept of how we were able to create an educational opportunity for dreamers to return home, to recover their identity, to reconnect with their families, and to discover their birthplace and country of origin as adults.
My name is Lidieth Arevalo, and I am a dreamer. I personally benefited from Advance Parole. The first time in 2015 when I joined Professor Vazquez-Ramos on the California-Mexico Dreamers Study Abroad program. After almost 11 years, I was able to go back to El Salvador, and I was able to reunite with my dad and my brother, something that I've been longing forever. But I wanted to go back to El Salvador somehow. I didn't know how, because obviously I was undocumented and there was no way I could go out of the country, but I never lost faith. And in 2015 it happened. And thanks God, all of my family is still there. But I cannot even imagine somebody like Mayra, somebody who already lost their parents, their grandparents, or a loved one, and they could not be there for them. I've seen Mayra go through that pain, and I respect her and I really admire her because she really does have a strength despite of everything that is happening around her.
The first time that I went to USCIS, I didn't even consider rejection. I said, this is my case. I have everything I need. I'm gonna go. It's gonna happen. Then I was rejected. This is my entire packet, and this is something that I hold on to, that I feel like things can happen because of this line that says, nor does this order bar the agency from granting advance parole in individual cases it finds deserving. So all this time, I'm just trying to figure out, what does it really mean to be deserving? I thought, given the situation that my dad passed away and I'm here with this entire package, like, this is a letter of support from my school, this is a letter of support from this other congressperson, this is my dad's birth certificate, this is my dad's death certificate, you have things like, you have my certificate, everything that you really need to have, and it's still not good enough. So what does it really mean to be deserving? Like, this is basically what they want. So I want to know, really, what is their discretion? Like, why do they get to decide, oh, this is good, this is not good? Or through this paper, like, you can't really see the struggle. You could read about it, you can probably get a sense of it, but could you really have those emotions there? You can. This is just, we're just another alien number, like, we're another LIN number. And I took those words as an opportunity that things will happen. And that's just what I've been believing. I'm just trying to prove to be deserving. That's really what it is. And I was sitting in the bench and I was thinking, wow, this just didn't happen. I didn't really know what to think. Like, I feel like I can't breathe. There's something like stuck in my throat on this side, and it's still like such a horrible feeling. And I know it's all in my mind, but in this moment, like, it just seems really real. Hey, Richard, Ben. Oh, he went. Zebra. Hey, kid. He's my baby brother. He wants to be involved. Hello. Hey. Uh-oh. Hey. No, don't hit her. I don't know why he's doing that. He's like, oh, someone here.
So you still love pets?
Oh yeah, but this one, look at his hair, so crazy. The other one is he's more clean, and he's just everywhere. He bites all the plants.
Mom, open the door. There's some garden right now.
And he's also very, like, he's he loves being hugged and everything. Look at that. No, outside, go to your house. You're not feeling cold. So I have to wait. Unless I wash up my hands.
Open the door.
The foundation of our advocacy for advance parole for humanitarian reasons to continue to be granted for Dreamers is based on two basic arguments. One, that it should not have been eliminated, nor the educational or the employment advance parole. But frankly, this was a decision that was done even prior to the announcement that canceled DACA back on September 5 of 2017. And we witnessed that because we had 75 Dreamers that had already applied, and none of them were approved and were informed that their cases had been administratively closed. They were placed on hold prior to the announcement of the termination of DACA, and the fact that they had already applied and paid for their fees prior to September 5 of 2017.
When it comes to Mexico, the most beautiful memories that I have was growing up at a ranch with my dad and my mom and my grandparents. My dad used to go fish with my grandpa, and I remember going fishing with him. We lived so close to the beach, and that was just my home. It was something that I would go every morning. There's a time where the tide would go down and you were able to get snails, but the huge snails, the ones that are beautiful, like they're pink, and those beautiful ones. Like I used to just get a bucket with my mom and we would just walk along the beach. I would know when it would bubble somewhere in the sand, like, all right, there's one there. Again, that's just where I grew up. I felt like it was a really beautiful place, and in my mind, that's still the way I see it. And it's somewhere that I want to go back.
Also breaking overnight, a federal judge temporarily blocking the Trump administration's plan to get rid of DACA. A California judge ruled the Trump administration has to keep processing renewal applications, but doesn't have to accept new ones.
The decision comes as lawmakers negotiate broader immigration reform.
Outrageous is the word the White House used today to describe the injunction imposed by San Francisco Judge William Alsup, who ruled that the administration made a mistake of law last fall when it decided to roll back the Obama-era DACA order.
However, the San Francisco Federal Court left out the advance parole provision in their decision and stated that USCIS did not have to approve advance parole requests from DACA recipients.
Even though the courts ruled against extending advance parole as it was previously provided, they do mention that the government has the discretion for deserving cases. And that's the argument that we're making regarding the case of not only Mayra Garibo, but on behalf of hundreds, if not thousands, of dreamers that will be facing exactly the same situation in the days, weeks, and months to come. And they have, as in the case of Mayra Garibo, no option to be able to be, in her case, at the burial of her father, and to be able to go and take care of her grandparents, who were also cared for by her father.
Thanks to Profe Armando. When we went to the play, he invited Congressman Lowenthal, and he just told me, like, this is your opportunity. This is a chance that you can get to meet him. And I'm about to share my story with Lowenthal and hope that he could listen and hope that he could help and do something. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to be thinking at the moment of what I can say. All I can think of is how I can sort of share my story.
I think there are two things. One is that we have to change this thing for all people, not just you. Everybody is, you're
Yes.
just one of the people that have been caught in this horrendous thing that grinds you down, and it doesn't really think about who you are as a person. So that's it. And then we have to make sure that when we illustrate it, that we try to help those people that need it the most. That's why we're going out to the meeting. So that is a decision. Is this the time? Because we want to help you, but we want to help you in the sense that this is something that they're going to cover, and it's going to help everybody. I keep saying that it's all about the 2018 election, and we're going to hold hearings on these issues, and we're going to change it. It is very hard now, but we have to start that process. We have to start educating. The thing is, how do we deal with this whole issue of access in and out for people who are here, that we want to be here, but we want to make sure that we provide them
Like the rest of the recipients from
like
our
everybody
group.
else, yeah.
But here's the thing, in her own social network, there was at least one of the other 75 who said, that happened to me last November. And I don't know if you kept that, but I'm thinking there's got to be a bunch of other dreamers, not just that had applied, but that today could happen. It could happen to any dreamer that mom, dad, grandpa is about to die.
And I know there's other students, like Profe mentioned, that there's other dreamers in our group who actually lost someone and they couldn't go, and they were left to just, okay, this is just my situation, this is what it is, and I don't want others to go through the same thing, and maybe they're not willing to stand up, but I want to stand up for them. Because I don't want them to feel what I feel and to go through what I'm going through. I don't want any other dreamer to ever go through this. And maybe, like you said, it's a difficult thing to sort of do, but I know it's not impossible because it is needed. Advance parole, it is needed.
When I applied applied the first time, I got denied for not having the proper doctor documentation from my grandfather. He had suffered a stroke last year, in 2015. It was kind of really hard for me to not be there at the time. So I got all the paperwork, and then we submitted the application of Advance Parole. And when I turned it in, I turned it in a year later. That was before President Trump terminated the DACA program. It was like a week before that. So when I turned in my application, the gentleman at USCIS denied me for simply saying that the doctor documentation was not correct. And we actually asked him, and I was like, what do you mean that what it means that it's not current? We need to know what's current. So like, well, honestly, it's up to the USCIS officer. It's to use it on discretion. So it was like discretion. So it's up. So you're telling me it's up to you to decide this? We walked out of there and trying to say, okay, let's just go get another doctor note. And next week passed, and that's when Trump terminated DACA.
When I read about your case, his profe sent me the email, right? And I was going through your story, and then I saw the quote that you said, I just want to have the chance to just like be there with my grandpa. And that really hit me hard because, it was already, and you lost your grandma, you said, right?
Yeah.
And me losing my dad, I think I was in the fear that any moment I could lose my grandpa too.
I need to see if somebody could make this happen, I'm not that close to say that I'm a religious person, but if there is a creator, there's a God out there, like, someday he's going to make this equal. And, it will come to us with patience. Sometimes I tell myself, what you went with your grandmother, it was just a test or a proof to actually think of what are you capable of taking. But I don't think I can take one more shot of not seeing my grandfather, I mean, I really don't want to get Advance Parole when he already dies. I never met on my mother's side, my grandmother. She passed away when I was 2 years old, like little. I never met her. So I lost my grandmother from my dad's side a few years back. It's going to be almost 10 years. And then I lost my mom's dad too. My grandfather from my dad's side, he's the last thing I have. If I could get this, I don't mind sacrificing a month or two, or whatever time I can stay out there, I'll stay there. Because to me, a day, a week, a month, hours, it will mean the life, to know him. It hurts me that we have to explain to these people how emotions work, like how it's hurting us so much that we have to sometimes I feel like I'm even begging for this. We are hard workers, we are students, we're business owners, we work with the community. We're always trying to give the best we can to the rest of the people. And when we ask for this small thing, Advance Parole, because we're not even shooting for a residency or a citizenship path. We just need this Advance Parole restated. Because we need to get closer to something that is going to be carrying on our heart forever.
Honestly, it's not realistic. I don't know, it doesn't feel real. It's hard to believe, like literally just over there is Mexico. I feel like you're never gonna really find out about things unless you really give it a try. And that could also apply to DACA as well, because a lot of people were afraid of what was gonna happen, but how would you really know unless you find out, right? And trying to go back to Mexico with Advance Parole, like that's the same thing. How could you really know unless you find out? I guess there was really no fear. And I don't know, I live my life that way. If you make a mistake and if it wasn't something good, then you learn, but you're not going to be left with the what if.
Unfortunately, we don't allow any kind of recording where there's audio, video, or photos inside. Yeah. But you can stand here. Okay. Cool. But no recording. Yeah, absolutely no recording at all.
We're literally by border, both the US and the Mexican border. Honestly, it's really overwhelming. It really is, because getting to see the Friendship Park, what is called the park, it's not even a park, it's literally a wall, a fence that it has, this fence right here has a bigger size rather than that fence that's in there. You can put your only pinky through there. Through the little square of that fence, I was able to see a little side of what Mexico is. And looking through that hole just made me realize that, oh wow, this is the only really thing that's standing in the way of my dreams. And as you see it, like, it ends there. But why does there even have to be a fence? In that moment, I felt that that huge fence was the only thing in the way from literally me and my dreams. And to think that that's a friendship park kind of got me upset, because number one, it's not a park at all. It said that the maximum was only 10 people allowed. A park is somewhere where you can be free, when you can sit down with the people that you love, spend time with them. There, people brought their chairs to, and I know we should take it as, oh, at least we have something, but that's literally nothing. Is this the line that we can't cross? Oh, is that for us? Did we cross the line? Are we in trouble? I've never been by the border, on the border or anything, so when I heard it, I was like, when I heard those alarms, I was wondering, what did I do? Did I overcross by 1 inch? Oh my god. I was like, is that us? Is that them? Are we too close? Because their line, it runs another side. I think we're fine. Yeah, I was wondering if now they were in trouble. Like, I kind of find it crazy that they would be just because they're getting close. But then again, we'll get in trouble if we get close. So. I feel like I can't move. I just wanted to be able to breathe and be able to go back and see the people I want to see in my family. I was born there and I'm living here, and this is my home, and that's also my home. Why do we have to choose? This is my home, and this is where I'm making my future. I've come to love this country. We have everything that we could really ever ask for. A lot of people struggle, but even then you work hard and you get to where you want to be, and you have that opportunity here, which in Mexico, that was the reason why we had to leave.
I think it's important to tell these stories. I think it's important to change the way we look at immigrants. I am human too. I'm just like anybody else here. I just want a better life, a better future. I want to contribute back to my community. I want to do great things. I believe that God has a purpose in everyone, and everyone should be able to enjoy what really the earth is, our home.
When I read the email that I was talking about Luis Tinoco's case, my heart just broke, because I know I'm in the same situation. And when we met him that day in San Diego, and I heard his voice crack, and his true emotions just came out about how he has to see his grandpa like suffer, and he's a lot older, and my heart just broke. Why? Because my grandpa's in the same situation. He's a lot older, and then I'm thinking, like, what if something happens to his grandpa and he passes away? And I didn't want to be in that situation, and I felt bad, and I just wanted to keep it in, and I wanted to be strong, and thinking that what if his grandpa passes away and now he has to go through that pain that I'm going through, and I didn't want to think in that moment that could be my grandpa too, or my grandma. So when he was sharing his story, I was just really trying not to cry, and really trying not to think that could be me again in that same exact situation of my dad. And it was something, and just to see, I could just tell when he was talking, and he was just it hurt, Like, it really hurt. And I just kept it to myself. I was like, don't think about it. Things are gonna get resolved in time. Nothing's gonna happen. But you really don't know. You really don't know. Hey. They call him Meanie Me because he's very dramatic. Like, he's very out there. He does and he's very emotional. So that's Meanie Me right there. They're like, why couldn't you take something else? Like, you had to have those things, like those dramatic things. So my brother's a mini copy of me. That's why my mom's like, oh great, I gotta be with both of you guys. When he was little, he used to, when he would cry, the other dog and him, they would come in and check on him because they were wondering why he was crying, and they would cry with him. They would cry because they wanted to know if he was doing okay. Come on. Juega con Sansón. Si no se lo van a llevar, si no juegas con él. ¿Quieres que se lleven a Sansón? Is he cute? Yes, super, super cute. Dile, you're so cute, Sansón. I want to be able to go back and not have it to be an issue, not people saying that, oh, well, you can't go back, why don't you just do it and then just stay over there, and why. I don't really understand how it would be sort of like a huge harm. You know, like, oh, wow, she's just going back for a vacation. No, I'm going back because I want to see my family. Like, I want to be there. I don't want to live my entire life and not having any interaction with them besides Skyping or having WhatsApp or on Facebook. Or all those things are great. They're fine, and it's amazing what technology can do nowadays, but it's not the same as giving them a hug. And I don't want to live my life that way, sort of just having that feeling and then not seeing my family. And that for me is like, just to be able to do that and see my family is worth risking it all, because then what do you really have here, honestly, if you don't have your family? I know I haven't seen you for so long. When was the last time? I don't know. Easter, no.
The fact is that advance parole for humanitarian reasons is essential for someone who has lost a loved one or is facing a health crisis. It is, in fact, a human need that has been ignored now for the last 6 months.
Advance parole is not about vacationing. It's not about a loophole. It really is about humanity. It really is about family. It's about doing the right thing.
Le vengo a avisar, no tengo papeles para trabajar. Señor presidente, pregunto por qué matan al moreno con piel de café. Si fuera presidente, honestamente, si fuera presidente, para mi gente, si fuera presidente, honestamente, si fuera presidente, para mi gente.
If I was president, I'd roll up my sleeves as I face the congregation. First thing I do is free education. And every third period, yo, we practice meditation. Like a brown Robin Hood, I'd take from the rich and I'd give to the poor, so my little sister ain't gotta be hungry no more. And my first lady would be my mom's, cause she'd smack me at the first thought of drone strikes and dropping bombs. And if I was president, I'd free all my poor black and brown kids that got caught up in 3 strikes. And when they get out, they get free bites, so they can ride to their future, not to their past. Go to the store, get some chips with no GMO, cause my folks, we got a right to know. And if you don't know, now you know. Me gusta la lima, me gusta el limón, pero no me gusta tanta corrupción.
Si fuera presidente, honestamente, si fuera presidente, para mi gente, si fuera presidente, honestamente, si fuera presidente, para mi gente.
At my inauguration, I burned tobacco at the opening. Give thanks and prayers to Creator and all living beings. First thing, I I'd sit you down with your abuelita, rewrite history so our kids can see where we came from and a new destiny. From Flint to Cali, water flowing pure and free, and my Department of Peace